Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like, you dislike, or even if you just want to outsmart me on something I said, go ahead, shoot me a call, 219-413-9405, and we will play your take back on our next episode. And shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. This code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I'm not sure about you, but baseball season is still going on pretty strong right now. So I'm going to go ahead and create me an account and go to one of these games. And even though the Cubs is kind of bad, and even though the White Sox is a little bit bad right now, still worth seeing some good entertainment. So go ahead, create that account and use that promo code. Anyway, look, man, we got some stuff going on because the Cubs and the White Sox aren't the only teams that's pretty bad right now, actually, in Chicago. But there's a team that's trying to work out of it. At least the Bulls are actually trying to work out of the misery that they've been in over the past few years. And I think they're finally getting somewhere. So we've seen the Chicago Bulls. They traded their lockdown defender, Alex Caruso, for Josh Giddey to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, immediately, I had some ways about this, but it was reported that the Bulls traded for Josh Giddey because they wanted a guard to operate and control the offense similar to someone like Lonzo Ball. And I wasn't upset about that. To me, Lonzo Ball, it's about done. It's time to move on from that. You got to find somebody else, find a different game plan. You can't stick with the same game plan you've had since 3 years ago when you had a healthy guard, and he's no longer there. It's time for a change. Giddey, I was upset initially. I'm like, okay, you gave away a lockdown elite defender, a two-way guard who can play 94 feet and can put the ball in a hoop. I was a little nervous at first, to be honest, bro, because Caruso, I like Alex Caruso. He's an NBA champion. He gets it done on both ends of the floor. Like, I really enjoy watching this man play basketball. He's going to give effort. He's going to make sure he brings it every single night, and you got to respect that. For anybody who likes the game of basketball, you got to respect it. Giddey, on the other hand, initially looking at the stats, 12 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. But then I started to look into this a little bit more because obviously we know SGA is the star over in Oklahoma City. And without SGA playing, Josh Giddey, in 32 games that he played without SGA, he had 16 points, 7 rebounds, or he averaged 16 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds through that time where SGA was gone. And I thought this was dope, and could be a huge help for the Bulls because, you still have DeRozan. They plan on getting him there. Kobe White can kind of play off ball a little bit, can do his thing on the arc and just play ISO and just play his game because Kobe White has been a bucket with DeRozan, without DeRozan. Either way, we've seen Kobe White act a fool on the offensive end in a good way. So you add Giddey, someone who's going to try and control the offense, it can work. The biggest thing now is just getting rid of Zach LaVine because he's that piece right now that's stopping the Bulls from finding the rest of the guys they need to consistently get to the playoffs. When I say the rest of the guys, I mean another wing that can shoot, a pure shooter, a 4 that can stretch the floor a little bit. Still keep Vujacic, but other than him, you're going to need more guys that can spread the floor, or a center and some bench pieces to help when DeRozan's not on the floor and Kobe White's not on the floor, because right now they don't have any bench support. Giddey is going to help a little bit, but I'm not completely sold on Giddey right now. Still curious about what he can do if he has to score the ball and what he can do if he has to create an offense for the Bulls. So I'm a little still worried about the Bulls. with the Giddey trade. But ultimately, I think this was a solid trade. This was a solid move here. And the next step is obviously going to be trading Zach LaVine, finding some pieces there. There was some multiple reports saying that there wasn't much going on in the market for Zach LaVine. He didn't have much hype around his name and all of that, but I think getting rid of him is going to be beneficial for the long run if they can, even if you have to sacrifice just a little bit on the pieces that you gain or whoever you get in return for Zach LaVine, because it's going to hurt you to keep him on the team rather than trading him for some smaller pieces, even if that just means draft picks and a little bit of extra change. But you know, I mean, he's still a great player and all, and he can help a team out, but it's just not it with the Bulls anymore. It's not it with the Bulls. You want to make sure you get the best out of DeRozan while he's still there. Kobe White has been playing on another level. He's going to be good to keep around the Bulls organization for some years to come. And then Giddey also, you know, he as long as he can play his role, they'll be all right. So, you know, I'm not upset at this move with the Bulls. I think it's a great move overall, but it's not the only move that doesn't happen in the NBA, because there's the other team on that other coast that's been making some moves. They've been looking for a head coach. They finally got their head coach in the Los Angeles Lakers. They hired JJ Redick as the new head coach in LA. And quick side note here, because we got news and more. I got a special guest on the show as well. He's going to join us. But quick side note, because the Lakers, they hired JJ Redick as the new head coach. And this is a guy with zero coaching experience. JJ Redick has never coached in the NBA on a collegiate level, high school level, none of that. I think on his resume, at best, he was like a volunteer at a high school or something like that. But he's never coached, and this is who the Lakers chose to go to. And now it just makes me think that there was that speculation of, oh, JJ Redick started a podcast with LeBron, and ultimately he did this because he knew Darvin Ham was going to get fired, and he wanted to put himself as the primary candidate that knows LeBron and that can connect with LeBron and that can connect with all the Lakers and all the young talent that's over there and Anthony Davis, and look how much he knows the game. That was a theory that was going on. It looks like it proved to be correct because, I mean, now we see JJ Redick as the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. Did not coach a single game, has plenty of player experience, obviously, but I mean, it's still somewhat wrong because there was a lot of great coaches out there. Kenny Atkins, who was out there, and he just took the job over in Cleveland. You still got Mark Jackson, who's been dying for an opportunity to coach basketball again. So many other people out there. Budenholzer, who's proved that he can win a championship and then won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. There's plenty of other coaches that are qualified, but it just goes to show, and I'll say it once, I'll say it again, but it's not about always being the best at what you do. Sometimes it's simply about who you know. And that's just proven over and over and over again, because JJ Redick being the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, it's crazy. I think he'll do a good job. I mean, JJ Redick was a fairly solid player. He perfected his craft as much as he could. He was very disciplined in his craft of making sure he was always up to par for the games and just being in a solid routine. So I have faith in JJ Redick, but it's just kind of sketchy. It's kind of sketchy to hire a guy who's never coached. You know, it's hiring somebody with no job experience in a weird way. But anyway, look, man, we got some news coming up, and then again, special guest JB is here. He's going to be on the line with me when we come back from the break after the news. So just hang tight. We'll be right back. It's halftime. All right, let's get into it, man. News for the run. Starting off with the NHL. For the first time in franchise history, the Florida Panthers have won the NHL Stanley Cup. It turned out to be a great series as the Panthers led the Oilers 3-1. Early on in the series, the Oilers, they forced a Game 7, but it just wasn't enough to stop the Panthers from winning that Game 7 and bringing home the Stanley Cup. So kudos to them for bringing home the first franchise Stanley Cup. Like, that is dope. And NBA free agency, there's a lot of different things going on. So the Denver Nuggets guard, Reggie Jackson, he's picking up his $5.25 million option to return to Denver for the 2024-2025 season. And the Minnesota Timberwolves coach, Chris Finch, he's agreed to a 4-year contract extension. Finch, he led the franchise to the first Western Conference Finals since 2004, and this is his third straight postseason trip. The Toronto Raptors' Scotty Barnes, he'll be landing a 5-year max rookie extension, and it's said the deal could be worth over $270 million. And now the Sacramento Kings free agent Malik Monk, he'll be signing a new deal, bringing him back to Sacktown as the deal is reported for 4 years, $78 million. And this also includes a player option at the end of that 4-year deal. Now, the Chicago Bears, or the Chicago Bulls, are out here making moves. The Bulls, they traded two-time all-defensive guard Alex Caruso to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Josh Giddey. And apparently the Thunder, they made this trade with plans to keep Caruso around for the long term, which I can't blame him, because that is definitely a good guy you want to keep around, an experienced veteran and all of that. So it'll be great to keep Caruso. And the Los Angeles Lakers, they got themselves a new head coach, JJ Redick. And the Los Angeles Lakers have agreed to a 4-year deal solidifying his role as the new coach. And it's said by Rob Pelinka, the Lakers GM, that he was sold on JJ's ability to connect with the players and his basketball IQ. So there's also been multiple reports that multiple NFL owners are discussing the possibility of adding a separate salary cap for quarterbacks. This is due to the rapid increase in quarterback contracts. All right, man, look, so I got my guy JB here with me, here to break down this topic in the NFL. So he's joined me here on the call. Jared, what's going on with you, man? How you been?
Hey, man, all is well, man. I cannot complain.
That's what's up. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're able to come on here and bless the people with your presence. But, we was having this discussion about the multiple reports of NFL owners possibly adding a separate salary cap for NFL quarterbacks just due to the rapid increase in contracts. Now, I'm not really in favor of this. I think it's kind of silly that they're trying to do this. I'm just a firm believer in having a complete team. You need everybody. And if a quarterback is that damn good, then he either needs to take a pay cut or he doesn't need to get paid that amount that he's being paid, because it's just a team effort. And putting him on a pedestal of giving him a new salary cap might deflate the team. It might go in another direction. So I just kind of want to hear your initial thoughts on this potential salary cap for quarterbacks instead of the entire team.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm all for it. This is a very interesting proposition. If I'm the owner of a team in the NFL, I will be in these meetings lobbying for a separate quarterback salary cap, because the quarterback is arguably the most important position on the field. If you have a great at that position, your chances of winning increase exponentially.
Right. And that is valid. I noticed that too. Obviously, that's usually when quarterbacks get paid the most, is after they had some sort of success in the playoffs or in the postseason at all. But my issue really just comes from a lot of these quarterbacks that are the highest paid and stuff. They're not Super Bowl winners, and they haven't really had much success in the postseason. So that's kind of where it irks my soul and it hurts me a little bit, because I'm like, if, for example, Trevor Lawrence, we know he just got paid, tied for the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. If he hasn't had any success in the postseason, why are they paying him so much money? That's where it hurts my soul. So what's your thoughts on quarterbacks not even having success but still getting paid this most, just kind of based on potential?
Well, at the end of the day, we're not behind those doors of that organization. So if a general manager, if an owner, if a coach feels very strongly that they need to pay this guy because he has the potential to be a guy that can lead them to a Super Bowl one day, then they should pull the trigger on it. At the end of the day, they're the ones spending the money. They're the one putting fans in the seat. And if they feel like he's the guy for their franchise, he's the guy for their franchise. You know what? That is valid too. And I can't help but to think of guys like Daniel Jones. I can't help but to think of a few other bad examples where guys have gotten paid, but their production has decreased or they haven't lived up to that hype. And to me, the salary cap of a quarterback, it would be good, but think about how pissed off people would be if, you pay a quarterback with a regular salary cap, like normal, everything is still how it is now, but you pay a quarterback, give him all this money, and then the production
production goes down. You don't have enough money to pay all the other skill positions. I like to think this is what the Cowboys is going through. I see it with the New York Giants right now because they paid Daniel Jones all that money just to hand it off to a running back who was dominant. And to me, you could avoid this situation with the quarterback salary cap, maybe depending on how they looped it in, if it actually even happened. But to me, that's part of the game. Like, if you make a bad decision in that front office by paying somebody who's not really that guy, then that's on you. So that's how I've always looked at it. And I'm just, I wonder if that would change if there's a salary cap for quarterbacks specifically.
Yeah, so usually like some of these top quarterbacks in the league take up around like 20 to 24% of their team salary cap. So if it is instituted in a way where that block of money does not count towards your full team salary cap, whereas that is like your face of the franchise salary cap and you're solely paying him, now you have more access to build a team around him to make him a better player, in return making him your investment and making him, well, helping him get you to the promised land.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense too. And thinking about it that way, like you mentioned, 22% of quarterbacks in the NFL are taking up about 22% of the cap space. And looking at the list, I sometimes think quarterback play is just valued almost too much. Obviously, as you mentioned, it can make or break your chances of going to win a Super Bowl. And if you have that quarterback who's, that guy, then he can take you all the way far. But, I also feel like sometimes there's too much emphasis because out of all the quarterbacks in the top 10 highest paid right now, there's only been 3 that's actually been to the Super Bowl in about the past 10 years. So, and those Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, and Jared Goff. And Jared Goff, we know, let's be honest about it, we love what he's doing in Detroit, but he's not really on that caliber of creativity and just skill set as a quarterback is the Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrows and Lamar Jackson. It's like, let's be real about it. So to me, I'm like, sometimes too much emphasis can be placed on the quarterback position rather than making a well-balanced team. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, ultimately, Jared Goff, watching the Lions this season, he's their guy. So he's kind of entering the prime of his career. And so the Lions have done a great job at drafting, because right now the ideal recipe for building your team is having a young quarterback on a rookie deal, or like drafting skill guys that can contribute early on rookie deals, so that they're giving you production for a low price until it's time to pay them. So like in terms of Jared Goff, the Lions have done a great job of surrounding him with players. So I'm looking at the list of the top 15 highest paid QBs. I noticed that a lot of the older guys, such as the Aaron Rodgers, the Matthew Stafford, the Kirk Cousins, they're not making up nearly as much of a percentage as the guys who are entering their prime or in their prime currently. Because you can never tell how long someone's prime is.
Right. So the older guys, their contracts isn't really up as high in the market right now, and maybe it is just because when they took on their deals, like it was big at the time, but then, as inflation goes on and on, salary cap increases and stuff, maybe it's a little bit less. Now, I do want to ask too, just kind of to steer in the same direction, but slightly off topic. Out of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks, what quarterback are you taking on that list?
Honestly, I think Lamar Jackson's my guy. He's an electric athlete, but he's also a great quarterback. He runs his offense, and those guys were just in the AFC Championship game a year ago, going up against Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So, like, if I had to pick anybody to stop this Chiefs dynasty, it would be Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Okay, I would go Pat Mahomes for sure. Without a doubt. I mean, to me, man, right now, Pat he's holding it down. He's the GOAT of this generation. He's that guy to beat, and he's on the team to beat. If you want to win a ring, you got to go through Patrick Mahomes. This is what it's looking like, and I'm hoping he three-peats. So I would pick that guy, Pat Mahomes for sure. And then I know how you feel about Brady a little bit personally, so I got to ask this question. I got to ask this question just a little bit. Between Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, start, bench, and cut one of those guys.
Okay, I'll start Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the most physically talented of the three, and yet he's also very versed in prepping for the game. be able to make changes and adjust on the fly from year to year, different personnel, all that stuff. So I'm starting Patrick Mahomes. On the bench, I'm taking the GOAT, Tom Brady, as much as it pains me to say that. But he is also a Michigan man. But Tom Brady had it all up top. He was able to run his offense to perfection, run Bill Belichick's offense to perfection. He was able to win 7 Super Bowls and then also do it with the Buccaneers. So I'll give it to him there, and then I'll have to cut Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is supremely talented, but he's not the winner those guys are.
That's where we going with it. He not the winner.
He's not the winner. Those guys.
He's not the winner. Okay. I can give you that. Obviously, because the other guys have more rings and stuff. But man, I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough one. I think if I had to do it, I would start Brady. I'm Cap. I ain't even gonna do that. I would start Pat Mahomes. It would be the same thing. Start Pat Mahomes. Brady coming off the bench as the backup, and then Aaron Rodgers would be the guy who unfortunately has to get cut. But that's no disrespect to Aaron Rodgers, because we obviously know what he is. So anyway, look, man, I'm gonna go with the last question here and just leave you off with something fun, bro. You think Pat Mahomes is about to three-peat with the Chiefs right now?
Man, I've seen him do it in different ways. I've seen him air the ball out around the yard. I've seen him run the ball, play defense. At the end of the day, he'll come out with a W. So I would love to see the Chiefs dynasty turn into a two-peat.
I want to see it happen too, bro. I would love for it to happen. And last thing, bro, anything you want to add? I know I said that last time, but anything you want to just go ahead and add? Because I'm hoping the Chiefs win. But just regarding the salary cap and all of that stuff, any last comments just to air out while I have you here?
Justin Herbert of the Chargers is now paired up with Jim Harbaugh, but he's also making $52 million a year. So I'm hoping he lives up to that deal this season.
You know, I don't know how I feel about that. I seen in the draft, they kind of chose to go inside out with drafting a lineman. So I don't know how I feel about the Chargers right now. To me, they lost all of the skill guys pretty much. Justin Herbert, that $52 million, he gonna have to show us he can throw and catch by himself. So his margin for error is, I want to say small, but also too, you can't really say that because he doesn't have many weapons, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like he has cemented himself as a franchise quarterback, even like taking lackluster teams to the playoffs or taking teams to the playoffs with not the greatest coaching in the world. But I think it's time for him to take that next step and become the guy everybody expects him to be and that they paid him to be. And
Jim Harbaugh is going to get him there?
Jim Harbaugh's going to get him there.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to hold you to it this season. So when the Chargers don't make the playoffs again, just know you're going to have some questions to answer. I want you to know right now. And I'm not expecting them to make the playoffs, obviously, and all of that. But just know, I'm going to hold you to it. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Any given Sunday, Mr. Wilson.
Okay, bet. Well, we gonna see. But anyway, look, JB, man, I appreciate having you on, bro. I appreciate you taking your time to even come on here, of course, and chop it up with me, just about the NFL and all of that. I'm gonna definitely have to bring you back on. Because you know we gotta keep chopping it up. We gotta talk about more and more stuff. So I'm gonna have to bring you back on, of course, but. I appreciate having you, man, and I'm going to leave my audience with this, and since I have you here, I'm going to let you just go ahead and ride it out for the end and listen to it. I always leave with a positive note. So the positive note for me today is to think positive no matter what you do, no matter what you're going through, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how easy it is. Just make sure you always think positive and find that small little positive thing that's been going on in your day, that may go on in your day, that may happen, or just have hope with it, and just think positive no matter what you out there doing. But other than that, man, look, that's my positive note for you guys out there. But I appreciate you for tuning in. If you've been listening this whole time, you made it all the way through the episode. Of course, man, you family, like I always say. But look, until then, man, I'll be back later on next week. And so on and so on and so on.